Carlos Alcaraz beats Novak Djokovic 6-2, 6-2, 7-6 and wins his second Wimbledon title, his fourth Grand Slam title overall. In my opinion, this was Carlos's best performance in a Grand Slam final so far, but it's also fair to say that he faced the least amount of resistance from the opponent. In the post-match interview, Carlos said that Novak did not play well. So let's start from the very beginning and let me share my thoughts on the match. In the very first game with Novak serving, I thought that Carlos did a phenomenal job getting balls in play and not giving Novak an easy hold. He had several break points that Novak was able to save, but Carlos eventually got the break. And the big question mark very early on in the second game was, how was Carlos Alcaraz going to serve? A lot of you guys were surprised that in my last video I gave both Carlos and Novak a check mark in the serve department, and maybe 2 years ago I would have definitely given Novak the advantage in the serve department. However, Carlos has improved the serve. I made a video on technical changes that Carlos has made to his serve shortly prior to the French Open. I highly recommend that you check this video out. And in this video, I described that while the serve has improved, there's still room for improvement. So I think over the course of the next few years, Carlos's serve continue to get better and better. He's always had a huge serve. The guy has an unbelievable lively arm. He can serve well over 130 miles an hour. But what's often lacking is the accuracy and the consistency, especially on the first serve. However, I thought that Carlos served extremely well in this final. And I've talked about Novak's knee extensively in some of my previous videos. And the one serve that I thought worked really well for Carlos was the hard body serve. See, when it comes to the body serve, you have to make quick movements, and this is where the footwork is crucial. Normally, Novak is possibly the greatest of all time in returning body serves because he's so agile and flexible. He's able to get his body out of the way. He has incredibly quick feet, and body serves generally don't bother Novak. However, today, possibly related to his knee, he wasn't able to get in the proper position, and Carlos got a lot of points from serving straight into Novak's body. So Carlos was comfortably holding in that first set, and he was able to get the insurance break. He won that first set 6-2, and in the second set, I thought Novak is gonna start getting fired up. He's gonna get into this match, and he's gonna start playing a lot better. However, that did not happen. Novak did not play his best tennis. He was making more unforced errors than usual. And while the differences in his movements are very subtle, there were some instances where it didn't look like Novak was moving at 100%. For example, there were a couple of instances where Carlos hit a drop shot. Novak didn't even attempt to run down the drop shots. Even though Novak's injury is on his right knee, Novak wasn't doing any open stance backhands, which doesn't make a lot of sense because his left knee is healthy. However, often when Novak was pushed towards that backhand corner, he would chip his backhand instead of doing his defensive open stance backhand that he can convert to winners or at least neutralize the point. So was it for the fact that Novak wasn't getting there in time? Maybe he wasn't trusting his body overall to put that kind of pressure on it? This was a little bit of a puzzle because, again, his injury wasn't on the left knee. That's the leg that you usually hit those open stance backhands from. His injury was on the right knee. But Novak had a slight weakness defending his backhand side in the first two sets. Novak was also not serving at the top of his game. Not only was he missing more first serves than usual, he was also losing more points off his first serve than he normally does. So naturally, Carlos, just like he did in the first set, he got 2 breaks in the second set and won 6-2. However, as I expected, Novak turned it on in the third set and started serving a lot better. And not only that, I also felt that Novak was more intense in the rallies. The grunts started to come out, and it was a very competitive match until 4-all in the third. And at that particular moment in time, I had a feeling that Carlos was going to try to win the match right there. 4-all in the third with Novak serving, and Carlos played one of the best return games that I've ever seen him play and broke Novak. Now, for you guys that have been following my analysis of professional tennis throughout this year, you know that Novak has had some weird performances where he was rushing through matches, not taking time at all. 2 examples are the Mahach match in Geneva and the Tabilo match in Rome. It looked like Novak didn't want to be on the court and he couldn't wait to get off of it. And the same thing happened at that particular game at 4-all. Despite the fact that Carlos was playing well, towards the end of that game, when it was love 40 on Novak's serve, Novak started to rush between points. Novak did win that point down love 40, but lost the one down 15-40, and he got broken. It was 5-4 Alcaraz, and Novak barely set down on the changeover. It must have been 2 or 3 seconds. He got up right away, and it looked like Novak couldn't wait for this match to be over. Carlos serves at 5-4, the first point of the rally. Novak hits a wild backhand down the line and misses it by a lot. And right there I thought, this match is over. And I really don't understand when Novak gets into this type of play. I have seen it occasionally against Nadal and against some other players in the past, but it's truly a mystery to me because Novak is one of the best players ever at winning matches that he has no business winning. He is a big fighter. We've seen it at the French Open this year. We've seen it possibly hundreds of times where Novak fights and wins matches that he should lose. However, every now and then, and especially this year, some of Novak's matches and some of the behaviors in the matches are just weird to me and quite mysterious. So the crazy thing is that Carlos goes up 40 love, up 6-2, 6-2, 5-4. He's serving and he gives the game to Novak. Now, normally you would say that if Novak comes back from 3 match points down, he's going to have a really good chance to win the match. But it wasn't like Novak fought really hard to get this game. Carlos Alcaraz basically gave Novak this game. He served 1 double fault. He missed an easy forehand. Then on the match point at 40-30, he clipped the net on his first serve twice. Then he got it in on the 3rd try. He served into the exact same corner 3 times in a row. And he hit a phenomenal serve. Novak got the ball back in play with a defensive block. Alcaraz has the entire court open and the swing volley, and he misses it inside out to the place exactly where Novak was standing. The entire deuce side of the court was open. Now, to be fair, someone in the crowd screamed right in the middle of that forehand swing volley, so that could have been the reason why Carlos missed it. Then on deuce, Carlos misses another easy forehand. At breakpoint Djokovic, they get into an extended rally, and Alcaraz ends up making a mistake, and now all of a sudden it's 5-all. And again, a situation like this with a normal level of Djokovic means that he's going to have a good chance to win the whole match. But on this particular day, especially late in that 3rd set, Djokovic wasn't in the right frame of mind. He did hold serve, he did pump himself up at 6-5, but it wasn't like the normal Novak pump up that we usually see. And all credit goes to Carlos. Despite blowing this huge lead, he got himself together. His focus, concentration was on point. He held serve comfortably and then played a phenomenal tiebreak, wins the 3rd set 7-6 and gets his 2nd Wimbledon title. Now let me look ahead to Novak's future, and maybe the most important tournament of the year for Novak is coming up. It's the Olympics on clay at Roland Garros. And Novak values the Olympics very highly. He loves playing for Serbia, and the only tournament that he's never won is the Olympic gold medal. So what are his chances now? I think making the Wimbledon final, where a week prior Novak wasn't even sure that he was going to play, is a huge confidence boost. I think the disadvantage for Novak is the fact that he hasn't really played the best players in the world, who are Alcaraz and Sinner. Let's face it, he lost to Sinner at the Aussie Open. Similar match to the Wimbledon final, by the way. 2 comfortable sets for Sinner, and then Djokovic got into the match but ended up losing. And today against Alcaraz was similar to that aspect, where Novak was outplayed in the first 2 sets and then made the match tight later on. So the question mark is, can Djokovic get back to the level where he's beaten these guys? Because it wasn't that long ago that Novak was dominating these guys. Remember the World Tour finals at the end of last year? Novak beat both Sinner and Alcaraz. So I think Novak is still there. I don't see any reason why his level should drop off that drastically, because he's not dealing with the heavy type of injuries that Nadal is dealing with, where he's out for 6 months at a time. He quickly recovered from this knee injury. The knee is going to continue to heal. It's going to be at 100% soon. And I think that Novak, at the very important tournaments, I don't know what's going on at those small tournaments this year. It's very mysterious. But fact is that the most important tournaments, we're seeing the old Novak Djokovic, who is highly capable of going very deep. As I said in this video and the videos before, there are not many people that can challenge Novak when it comes to the most important tournaments. And the same can be said for the Olympics. Alcaraz, in my opinion, is going to be the favorite to take the title, and then it's going to be Sinner and Zverev, who are going to be dangerous for Novak, but whoever else comes in his path, I think Novak has a very good chance of winning. Can he beat Sinner and Alcaraz? I think he can, especially when we get back to the hard courts, especially when we get back to the indoor season. But just like everybody else, Novak is going to have to play better, more consistently, and start going deep in these tournaments so that he can play against these guys more often. The reason why we haven't had that many Djokovic-Sinner matches this year or Djokovic-Alcaraz matches, because Djokovic has played some mysterious tournaments, losing in the second round or the third round. So I don't think it's over for Djokovic. I think he's going to have a chance to get more titles, not only this year, but especially in 2025. Let's talk about the women's final. I thought there was a very entertaining match between Krejcikova and Paolini. And for you guys that are going back to my original prediction video and writing me comments, it's all good. I made the worst predictions that I've ever made regarding the women's draw. I mean, Krejcikova won the tournament, and I had her losing in the first round to Kudermetova. Now, why did I have her losing? Because Krejcikova won 7 matches the whole year, and she won 7 matches in Wimbledon, and Kudermetova has been playing well, especially on grass. Now, the crazy thing about tennis is that Krejcikova almost lost that match. She won a very tight, over 3-hour match against Kudermetova, and then collected confidence as she continued to win matches. And she's one of the most talented players on tour, a doubles and a singles champion, something that I appreciate very much. And she came out in the final against Paolini, playing extremely well, and won the first set 6-2. Now, early in the second, for whatever reason, Barbara started slicing a lot more, and she didn't play as aggressive as she did in the first set. And Paolini is so good at handling the low balls. She's such a phenomenal mover. And the match flipped, and it was now Paolini who started playing a lot better, winning the second set 6-2. In the third set, Paolini was the more aggressive player from the back of the court. I thought that Paolini was going to take the title, but what saved Krejcikova was the fact that she started serving better again. So she was able to comfortably hold serve, and then got a look at a break at 3-all in the third. She held serve at 4-3 and ended up holding serve at 5-4 and won her second Grand Slam title. Now she has won at the French and won in Wimbledon. Let me say one more thing about Paolini. I couldn't tell you how many tennis parents or tennis coaches who are in the junior scene have said statements like, unless you're tall, you have no chance to do anything significant in tennis. And they couldn't be more wrong. There is no height requirement in tennis. Just mean Paolini is 5'4", made the French Open final and the Wimbledon final. Just as many parents and coaches also say that if you have a WTA style forehand, you have absolutely no chance to make it on the WTA tour, and that also couldn't be more wrong. Last year's champion Marketa Vondrousova has a classic WTA forehand, and guess what? Barbara Krejcikova also has a classic WTA style forehand, and despite Wimbledon being held on grass, which is a faster surface, her forehand was working extremely well. Now, I've made several videos discussing why you shouldn't try to copy a WTA forehand, or if you have a WTA style forehand, this is not necessarily a problem. This is a complex topic. I recommend that you check out those videos. And I've also made videos on body height, and there's people that say you only can hit kick serves. I'm going to link all these videos in the description, and I highly recommend that you check them out. And it was nice to see in the final that some of those widespread myths in the game of tennis were proven wrong by two phenomenal players, Paolini and Krejcikova.